Oh, shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, of course, the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And we are thrilled to have another theater person in front of us. If you see that the way I am lit is very theatrical. Plus, I've got the light side, the happy bright side, and the dark side, because this lovely lady in front of us has explored both, particularly the dark side, in a show that she is doing based on her own life. It's a play called I Came Back from Molly. Hopefully, that's not the drug. She's talking about her own name. Her name is Molly Carden. The show is playing at Theater Row, but let me tell you a little bit about her before I actually let her talk. She has numerous off-Broadway and regional credits, including a play by Eve Ensler. She's the vagina lady, called Emotional Creature. She's appeared, this woman, Molly, has been at the Denver Center, the George Street Playhouse in New Jersey. She's at Berkeley Rep. And for her role in the off-Broadway show last year called American, one critic at Exeunt New York website, which I've never heard of, but it doesn't matter, quote, Carden's performance is so raw, it's painful to watch. Unquote. I can't tell you how many people say my sermons are painful to watch, but I don't think they mean it in quite the same way. By the way, she was also, and we might talk about this, in a Marvel movie called Thunderbolts, and in a movie starring Holland Taylor called Motherland. And as I said, she's now doing her solo show. I Came Back from Molly. A critic for the United Solo Festival wrote, quote, Carden's writing is intelligent, emotional, and funny, often all at once. She presents an extremely personal story in a new and interesting way. So won't you please welcome to the neighborhood the new and interesting Molly Carden. Shalom, Molly.
Shalom. Thank you so much for having me.
And very, very proud and happy to have you here. So you've been working on your solo show, I Came Back from Molly, for about 4 years now. You've been doing it in various places. So first tell us what it is, and then tell us how it sort of morphed from 4 years ago into what it is now.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. My solo show, I Came Back from Molly. I'm so shocked that nobody has ever used the drug reference on my show because they use it on my name all the time.
It took a rabbi to do this, quite honestly, yeah. I don't even know what
Definitely.
Mali
Yeah.
is. I thought it was a Italian Africa. But okay, so this is a true story, though, of you
Yes.
having a rough time in high school. Is that
Yes,
what it?
it
Yeah.
it deals specifically with a period in my life when I was 17 and 18, dealing with severe anxiety and depression, spending time in a number of psychiatric hospitals. And it was, I guess this is something that I've sort of been remembering lately. It was this very specific period of time, um, specifically about a year in which I'm sort of looking at in time in the piece. And it was something that I hadn't talked to anyone or thought about in about um 17 years, which was half my life when I started working on it. So it was a long time of sort of putting something away for coping reasons, survival reasons, wanting to, I don't know, belong, get on with my life, what have you. And then it was really the pandemic that it first started as sort of a spiritual writing practice, quite honestly, that I was doing with no thought of a result or a career ambition behind it. And then I started writing about this specific period in my life, and something sort of took off for me. And I ended up presenting it as a short play in the 7x7 festival, which my friend Brett Epstein used to produce at the Tank. Shout out to Brett.
Right. Sarat, sounds like he has a Jewish name. Is he one of the tribe?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yes,
Carmali?
I am.
You are.
I am.
Yes.
My name
Yes.
is not, yeah, my mother's name is more Jewish than mine. She's Jewish. And her name is Pamela Berlin. And
Wait, your
so
mother's Pam Berlin?
yeah,
Why do I know that? She's a theater.
she is the theater director. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
She's freelance. She's done so many shows over
Yeah. Oh, I
decades
didn't
worth of
realize that
time.
was your
She's an
mama. Okay.
extraordinary director.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my mom. And my dad is also a theater person. I come from a theater family. That might come back later.
Yeah, no, we will come back. We're going to talk about it. Is your mom around? Can you bring her on? I'm just curious. No,
She's traveling right now.
and who's your dad? What's his name? Is
His
that
name's
Isaiah?
William
Oh, sorry.
Carden. Sorry.
Oh, William Wait, I know that name too. He's also been an
He
actor for years.
he was. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Not for a very long time. He recently stepped down from his position as artistic director of the Ensemble Studio Theater.
I knew Kurt Dempster way back in the, but
Okay, yeah, he was
oh my
Kurt's
God, yeah,
successor, I guess you would call
right,
it.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
What? So you had to go into theater. You had no choice.
yeah. I
You
find when people are, kids of theater people, I think it tends to go like 100% in either direction. Either you're like, fuck this, or you kind of become obsessed with it. So I definitely became obsessed with it, which is something I actually talk more about now a little bit in the piece. Um,
I
yeah.
mean, you know, this now makes me wonder: have your mama and papa seen your show? It must be as hard as it is for you. It's got to be ripping them apart every time they see it.
Yeah. So they actually haven't seen it yet, but they have read it. So they know what's in it, but they haven't seen it. I hope they see this version because I've been working on the play now for a while. But yeah, I mean, if I were them, I don't. They haven't told me that they don't want to see it, but it's the kind of the worst period. One of the worst. I mean, it was kind of the worst period in my life. I think it was possibly the worst in theirs, if not one of them. And yeah, and then you're sort of watching that on
Actually,
stage, which
I
is
remember the two of them had a very bad matinee one day. It was just the crowd was falling asleep, and that was the you with all the suicide stuff. Second, close second, but second. So when they read it, did they have notes? Was there anything they told you? Please
no,
don't do this, or no?
no.
Yes, I have an evil sense of humor. You know that already. But
Yeah. Well, it's an odd thing because I mean, when I first presented it for public audiences, I think it for them, I think there was something weirdly unspoken and healing for the whole family in having theater artists say, "Oh wow, we saw Molly's show. It was beautiful." It was the fact that anything good at all could come from this period of time, I think is kind of miraculous. Still feels kind of amazing to me, and I think to them on some level too.
so, what got you out of that horrible, horrible? What got you into it? Was there a triggering point, or was it just you reached a certain age and some women they have things happen biologically, chemically? I'm being sexist here, but you know what I'm saying. Or what
I'm
was it?
gonna say, like, come see the show to find out, like exactly,
Um,
sort of what happened. But in answer to your question, I think the answer is no. There wasn't like one particular thing. It was sort of a confluence of factors, which is why it, in some ways, is even more difficult to define or talk about to other people, um, and why I think I saw it as this wild challenge to think how can I talk about this time that honestly barely was making sense to me? How can I communicate this to a live audience in a way that makes any kind of sense? And that continues that was the first that was the first impulse. And I think at this point it's how do I tell this story as honestly as I possibly can in a way that people can understand
so now I'll
in
roll
real
forward.
time.
I'll roll forward a year later. How did you know that you were okay enough to get along with the rest of your life?
Oh man, you really have to see
Have
the
to
show
see
to
the
find
show.
out. That's like that's like
Yeah.
huge plot spoilers.
Oh, all right, no, fair enough, fair enough. All right, well, give us an
But I
anecdote.
will say
Yeah.
something that I guess maybe the thing that I'll say just because of the podcast is that acting for me was my reason. It was wanting to go to acting school that and wanting to be an actor that was sort of my saving it was my reason to keep going.
Now, this leads to the fact that you got your acting degree at UNC, not, alas, the UNC where I did my show, Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Me, which was the UNC that's out in Colorado, which is a really lovely place. But you were at the real UNC. So, what were the roles that you played when you were a student at UNC?
This is somehow I talk about North Carolina School of the Arts. I say the words North Carolina School of the Arts, which has, technically the name has changed to
Well, it's not your
University of the North Carolina School of the Arts. I just
sure.
don't think it doesn't have as much of a ring. I just call it what I called it when I got in, whatever. Um, it's a kind of spoilers again.
That's part of what roles you played when. All right,
I
all right.
know it sounds crazy, but you have to come see the show to find out why. Like, my most important role there has to do.
Ah,
I can't. I
fair
can't.
enough. Yeah.
I
Well,
loved it
this is
there.
all
I
the
would
more
love to.
reason for people to go to Theater Row. And this is, by the way, happening from February 26th through March 15th on Theater Row. The show's I Came Back for Molly. Molly is the person that we're talking. We're going to try and find the question that she can answer here. Oh, can you, without telling us what's in the show, can you say how the show was? Well, you said you had a very short version that you did in the 7x7 festival thing. Once you expanded it to a full length hour-ish, hour plus solo evening, like how was it different from when you were doing it in 2024 to now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I've found, which is really interesting, when I started writing about mental illness, there was a way in which I found poetry, not writing poems, but I guess I'm saying poetic language, extremely helpful and necessary in a way that I was trying to communicate what I was feeling in a way or find a way to describe it. And along that same lines, I think an earlier version of this was definitely used more theatrical devices than this one. There was more reliance on tech, more theatricality, more theatrical movement. And and I think that version was the most honest version of the story for me at the time. And since I've spent a lot of time with the subject matter being myself as a teenager, um, my relationship to the material has changed and deepened, and to relationship to myself has changed and deepened. And so this version, I think, is more raw, it's more honest, it's more
More direct. You've taken away the
yeah,
bells and whistles a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Not the bell jars and
yeah.
whistles, come to think
And
of it,
it's more
but yeah.
specific for sure. Like I mean, in a very literal way, it's more I go into more specifics. It's more specific and a little more dangerous, I would say.
Oh, all
I
righty.
don't know. I mean, my goal here is not to provoke or put like, even though the subject matter can be, I don't, uh, my goal with this is to connect, um, even when it's dark, if that makes sense.
And also, you mentioned a little bit earlier movement. Like,
Yeah.
I had a very lovely movement this morning, and it just made me feel so better. But you were talking, you were a dancer at one point. Where was the
Never.
dance?
No, I'm horrible at dance. Um, there's,
I thought in the, I must have read something wrong. I thought you were somewhere in there, you were a dancer. No, you're not. No.
I'm just not. I'm not. I really wish I were, which I also talk about in the show. There's some dance imagery in the play in I Came Back for Molly.
Yeah.
And so along those lines, I would dance as part of the show. There's not so much of that now.
So you're a bad dancer, but you're intentionally or something like, but
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be a good dancer, but I was using the dances to sort of try and articulate certain moments
now, how did the director? Who was your
with
director on this?
humor.
Who is your director on this? At
My
the,
director is Mimi O'Donnell.
so, what has she brought? Is she the choreographer of the dance? Or what did she bring to the table that you didn't have before she signed on?
She's she's brought a level of honesty and rigor to the process. And I'm also new to playwriting, and Mimi is extraordinary with new plays, so she's really been the first to take me through my own script in a way and to really drill down on the rules of the play, of the what it was, especially with a lot of the poetry that I mentioned. It was like, well, what do you actually mean? I don't, what is that, what did that actually feel like? Where you know just sort of pushing on, and then what, and then what, and then what. Also, the American Playwriting Foundation, which was, founded in Philip Seymour Hoffman's name. It's called the Relentless Foundation. And I think that's a word that Mimi embodies in a
Relentless.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Just to go after the truth and drill and drill and drill and
yeah.
drill.
Yeah.
And
The
as a
truth,
little
or
bit
whatever the moment
unfortunate,
needs to be, which is sometimes, yeah, which is the truth of the play. But yeah, and okay, yeah.
yeah, no, it just occurs to me Philip Seymour Hoffman committed suicide. So it's rather a thing that your play deals with, the subject. So, was that the last time, not to be too personal, but from those high school years until now, has everything been under control in terms of emotional and anxiety and suicidalism, or have there been peaks and valleys?
Yeah. Definitely been peaks and valleys, but by the same token, if you looked at like a medical chart or a psychiatric, like I haven't been back to a psychiatric hospital since then, for example, or had another big episode of any kind. So I've so that was part of the writing of the play, was trying to say, okay, well, this is me then and this is me now. And then I think I found that splitting off was something that wasn't serving me in my life, because I felt like quite literally terrified of my own shadow, I guess you could say. If that makes,
Yeah.
like I was afraid of myself, even afraid of, yeah, I was afraid of myself. I mean, I'm still afraid of myself, but I'm less afraid of myself.
Oh, things are scary. I look in the mirror every morning. I'm like, ah, it
Yeah, well,
terrifies me when I see
sometimes, yeah.
the sagging. You don't want to know. Believe me, you don't want to know. Now, speaking of thrills and chills, how did you get a Marvel? You were in a Marvel movie
I
called Marvel
was.
Universe Thunderbolts. What was that like? Were you acting with green screens and weird things, or actual people? What was your days on set like?
Yeah, speaking of like pain and darkness, so when when people found out, they were like, "Oh my God, you're in this Marvel movie. Are you a superhero?" And I was like, "No, I'm a domestic abuse victim, of course." But um, but there you go. But the part was so cool because so Lewis Pullman in Thunderbolts plays Bob, and I play his mom in a flashback when he was a budding young superhero with a violent father and a mother who tried to, I guess, tamp him,
Protect. Yeah.
protect, but that traumatized him, because she was also traumatized and in pain and trying to tamp her son down to maintain the toxic system. So that, so it was one of the yeah, it was like a random self tape, and then they asked me to, sort of do it again and pause in a certain place, and then they said, you got it. And it's all these NDAs, so you don't really know, like, I mean, I didn't know what the movie was about when I was filming it. I saw they gave me a little more material, in terms of where it felt, but I really didn't know what it was about other than the scene I was playing, which was fine given what I had to do in the movie. But oh my gosh, it was so fun. It was like yeah, everyone there's amazing at their jobs, and you're just part of this huge machine. I mean, I got to like sit behind the monitors when I wasn't shooting and watch some of the superhero stuff and the stunts and stuff like that. It was like being in Disneyland sort of, and yeah,
Yay!
for
And then you were in
movies.
a very different film that I mentioned before, the one with
Mm.
Holland Taylor in it. I lost the name. Motherland,
Motherland, yeah.
which seemed, I think that has Jews and Nazis in it. So yeah, doesn't it? No,
It's a
there's a Nazi
no,
or
it might look like it, right? It's about a dystopia, so I guess you're
oh
not far off,
yeah.
but there's no religion mentioned. Motherland is an alternative society in which all babies are raised communally, so the identity of the mother is never known, and mothers are sorry, babies are being ripped away from their mothers. I guess no spoilers. Yeah, I don't do so good after my baby's ripped away from me, and I get
You get all the happy roles,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah,
The abuse victims, you
yeah.
get the mothers who rip the babies away. Were you
Well,
ever in a
actually,
comedy?
mothers mothers who hate their children is seems to be the theme right now with the roles that I'm playing.
Mothers who hate their children.
Well,
Was that
not
an
in
American?
Motherland, but a lot of or dislike their kids. Yeah, or
Do you have
mistreat them.
personal question? Do you have kids? Or I don't know.
I
You're
don't have kids, but I work with kids. Like I teach kids and I love kids. And yeah. So it's kind of funny to treat them badly as part of work, but
do.
we'll do it all.
Where do you do you teach acting? What do you teach?
I do. I teach acting and playwriting to kids. Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. In New York, where do you do this? Where?
In Brooklyn, mostly at a school, in Carroll Gardens. Yeah.
Very nice. Oh, Mazel tov. So,
Thank you.
have you teach them, but what have you learned from
Mm.
trying to teach children?
Whoa. Gosh, so much. Um, I mean, to me, the one of the reasons I love children, I think they have special gifts. I think they force me into the present whenever I'm teaching kids. If well, no matter what is going on, how wound up in my head I am about whatever's happening in my life, I have to be there with them 100% in order to do my job. And I think I learned from them a lot about patience and um, l- I encounter sometimes when I'm teaching kids my own impatience or my own hmm, I don't perfectionism, maybe things like that, and then realizing like what I'm trying to get them to do is always to be as deeply in touch with their imaginations and their creativity as I possibly can. And then I feel like sometimes I learn it through giving it to them first, and then I'm like reminded to do that for myself, if that makes
Yeah,
sense,
it
as
makes a
part of
tremendous amount of sense.
my own work. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, also speaking of your acting and the work that you've done, you were, as we mentioned, in a play by Eve Ensler, creator of the Vagina Monologues. So you know her, at least in that stage. You know what is she like? What was it like working on that play, Emotional Creature?
Emotional creature changed my life. I loved that play so much. I love Eve Ensler goes by V now. V formerly known as Eve Ensler. But I love V so much. Part of writing this play was for sure inspired by that experience because it was all about the power of women telling their stories and their truths all over the world. And I think it taught me about how I mean, part of because of the amazing life that V has lived and all the work she's done traveling around the world and talking to so many different women from so many different walks of life. And it's just, um,
And you played a very happy, fun-filled character in that play, didn't you?
no.
What did you play in there? You can tell people it was.
Oh, I played a Bulgarian sex slave, and I also played an American high school teenager, but
Oh,
who's like bullied terribly and has a total breakdown about like not belonging in the lunchroom. So no, literally like both monologues were me being like, I hate myself, I hate myself. Um welcome to off-Broadway. So, so that was like my big off-Broadway debut was like, I don't want to be alive. Um but I think it taught me about, I mean, how in a way all these women from all over the world that my friends and I were portraying were bound together by similar struggles that can seem so different from the outside, but in fact have the same underlying cause and pain and struggle. And I think that helped me understand that maybe by telling my own story that it would make people feel less alone, even if the circumstances were weird to them or they came from a very different background externally or whatever. And also it taught me about like where it started to open my mind to the notion of self-acceptance and what that means because V's so big on that. And it was like, well, what does it actually mean to accept all of yourself? Because I think I was at an age in my 20s where I was like, oh, I like myself when I'm being cute and smart and fabulous, but but there's so many things about myself that I wasn't
And
okay
that's
with, whether or not I even knew that at the time. I mean, how aware I was of that, yes and no, I don't know.
so now
But
you like yourself, you accept yourself.
I
Um,
try some days more than others. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I know the feeling too. I am still trying to dialogue with my vagina, and it's not. I try. It's still nothing happening down there. By the way, speaking of painful, difficult things,
Yeah.
what? And you don't have to mention names. What is the most difficult production? Because you've acted regionally, you've acted off Broadway, in movies too. What is the one where it was just a terrible situation, or director, or things were going wrong, or you were bad? What was a bad time?
Well, it's hard not to mention, specifics, but I have something in my head. I don't want to say, I can't say it.
Without names, you can't. I mean,
Without
like the experience
names.
itself, rather than saying this was the actor I was working with who
Sure,
kept
sure.
breaking wind. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a piece that just didn't really work, and um the producer had a specific connection to it, and so we had this oddly long run of the piece, which was strange, and the set kept breaking and no one came. I think a tourist answered their phone in the middle of a show once, and like then had a full-on conversation because like nobody was there to stop them.
Well, Patty LuPone was not in the cast, so what could you do? Right? Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, it was just really hard to go to work every day sometimes. Yeah, it can be
Uh,
hard.
All right, you did that fabulously without. Now, feel free to mention names. What is like the greatest, most your solo show doesn't count. Your most happiest acting time, production time of all.
Oh. I mean, Emotional Creatures hot, like
Uh,
in many ways that's number one for me. And also, um, I did a play in New York Stage and Film in my 20s called Downtown Race Riot, directed by Scott Elliott, and I loved every minute of that. It took place in the 70s in New York by an incredible playwright named Seth Zvi Rosenfeld.
Seth
Yeah,
Spee wrote
Seth.
two Jewish names in one
Yeah.
man. He's the guy. Did he do Serbian Bernice Forever? Is that the same guy?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
I don't.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but that will always just be one of my favorites. Yeah.
Now, also in terms of horrible, miserable moments, are there any really funny things that have happened? Nightmare stories in the audience or when you've been on stage. The live theater thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Oh. Well, yeah, God, there's a lot. Oh man. Well, this one I was telling my friend the other night, and it's definitely on my mind because I'm getting ready to do this solo show for people again. And a few years ago, I had this amazing opportunity to go to Cornell University, and I had an incredible time with these young women doing these writing workshops about self-expressive writing. That was beautiful. I also performed my solo show at Cornell. I didn't have a director there for that. So it was just me, and they put me up in a hotel. It was all very nice. There weren't a whole lot of people in the audience, and I didn't have my director there. And yeah, it was all new. It was like a little lonely during the what my direct yeah the worst moment of my life, like my big trauma moment. Spoiler, like, can't talk about what this is at all, but it's like if you see a solo show about mental illness and it's like the moment when somebody it's like really, and I think I deal with it a little better now. Like it was even more dramatic, I guess is what I'm saying, than it is in a way now.
uh,
um and I was on the floor and whatever the lights were doing, and I'm like, on the floor at the lowest moment of the play. And these two people in the back row got up and like clump, clump, clump. And then there was this huge, because it was like a college space. I don't know, the theater, it was like a gym door and it was like this huge heavy door and they had to pull it and then they shut it and that took like 5 minutes. And I was just, and I could only laugh about it afterwards because I was like, this is, I mean, like,
Oh, I'm so sorry, but I mean that stuff. This happens. This kind of yeah. But most of the time, hello, whoa, yeah,
sorry, just a thing came through on the screen.
yeah. But by the way, we want to remind people that you are going to go and see this woman's play. It's her solo show. She wrote it. She's singing it. It's called "I Came Back for Molly." It is running from February 26th through March 15th at the Theater Row Theater. It's right there between 9th and 10th Avenue on 42nd Street. Get
Yes.
your tickets.
Available on the Theater Row website.
Yeah, Theater Row. It might be theaterrow.com. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Close enough. And do you have a website? You have a Facebook page, but do you have a website to follow you?
I don't, I need to I need to update my website. I
Now,
can email that to you.
one or two more questions for Molly Carden before we let you go. Do you
Yeah.
have a favorite all-time play?
Oh, such a hard question. I'm like, which one should I pick?
You can do two.
Okay. The first one is a play that my dad directed when I was 13 years old, and I watched a lot of rehearsals, like maybe all of them. Not all of them, but a lot. It was called Burnt Piano, and it starred Lila Robbins
Oh,
and Fritz Weaver and Anna Minot and Greg Malavy and a young man named Dennis Michael Hall. And it's about a woman who's obsessed with Samuel Beckett, but she's really grieving the death of her young son who died in a fire. She's sort of working through it by this weird obsession. And it's just like, it's interesting that the play, which sounds kind of heady if I talk about it, but it hit me on this visceral level at this young age. And I knew nothing about Samuel Beckett, or whatever. It's just an extraordinary piece of art, which is now being in all, this is many 20 some years later, is about to come out as this major motion picture,
is it real?
like this.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
by an Australian playwright named Justin Fleming, and I found out recently that like this is about to be like a huge movie, which is crazy to me because for my whole life it's like the plays no one's heard of. Maybe
Yeah.
in Australia they have, but like not here. And Burnt Piano, that's a big one.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. I asked that question, and so I do then have to ask. Apart from that horrible year that you go into in your show, and growing up with two parents in the theater and going to rehearsal, was it generally a cool thing?
Yes. Yeah. It was pretty magical, being around theater people at a young age. I mean, theater people tend to love children. I mean, like I do. Um, I've found they seemed happy to be around me. It was just what an environment for a kid. I mean, my God. Yeah, it was incredible.
Well,
And I
did you
think
meet any like iconic, idyllic things, and you were even too young to like appreciate them? Like you could say, "Oh yeah, I went backstage and saw so and so," and you were 8, and then you said, "Oh my God, you saw who?" Like who?
well, my dad, I mean, he started working at HB Playwrights Foundation when I was about 7 years old, and he worked very closely with Uta Hagen for years, and I knew her. I mean, so yeah, yeah, that
Was
that
she
was,
nice?
yes,
She
to
okay. I
me.
always
She was
wondered
always
when she was
very
very.
nice to me,
Oh yay! Oh good.
and she loved my dad, so I think that helped. Yeah, and she would say, "You're here. I have to be good tonight," or something.
That's nice. Who else? Who else besides Uga Hagen? Any other folks that we would go like, you know,
I
luminaries?
feel like I'm like blanking. I'm sure. Oh Lord, who was around? Who was around? I don't know. It's just it's funny because I grew up around who I feel like all this are all like the best actors in New York, but they're not necessarily um like international celebrities.
Oh no, no. But if you know New York theater, we would know the names of a lot of these people. I think that's
Well, I
fair to say.
just mentioned Lila Robbins,
Yeah.
Betsy Adem. I grew up around her. She'd worked with my mom closely, so she was around, and I remember just loving her work so much. Man, those were two big ones. Oh, Marsha Jean Kurtz.
Oh my God. All right.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
the last question then, though, is, your mom's a very well-known director. Dad was an artistic director. You've gone into acting. Is there that point where you just want to direct?
I mean, I've recently made, this small expansion into writing because I came back for Molly as my first full-length play. So which I'm also turning into a TV show. So
Oh,
but so different mediums and stuff, and that's been fun. I think I've avoided directing probably because I don't want to do what my parents do. But at the same time, it's like I feel I'm already I feel like my life is like this attempted homage to them because going into theater, like there's I mean that's a following of them completely in a way, but directing it just feels um I'd like to try it.
to
I
try
would.
it, yeah. But right now you're concentrating on the writing. So I know you're adapting the Molly into a TV series set in high school, I assume, or maybe in a mental, or both. Yeah, wow, wow, wow. Make it animated. Put a little, put a
I
little
mean,
hat.
maybe, I don't
And then you
know.
get to appearing as a completely horrible. You can't play yourself anymore because you'll be a high school kid. But you could be
Yeah,
like
that's true.
someone with a horribly beaten ferociously, lost a leg in a war. Just every possible misery because that's your specialty, ladies and gentlemen. Not to mention that you've just been interviewed by me, which may of course be the worst moment of your life, ladies and gentlemen. We have had the delight of talking with Molly Carden. Last reminder, I came back for Molly. You're going to want to come back. You're going to see it once and then come back and see I came back again. And it is at the Theater Row Theater from February 26th through March 15th. Get your tickets at the Theater Row website. Molly, last question. Were you bat mitzvahed?
On my birthright trip when I was 26 years old at the top of Mitzvah, I got like a Vegas bat mitzvah from a rabbi. Like I didn't have to say anything. It was just like your bat mitzvah.
Slip him $10. He did it. That's the best way, isn't it? Oh. Well, what is your Hebrew name then, Molly? Do you
Oh
know?
no. Maybe it's Malka.
Malka. Even if it isn't, I'm going to call you Malka. Malka Carden. Thank you so much for being with us. Much success on your show. Much success on your, the TV show you're writing and all your other projects. Thank you so much, and shalom to you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a delight to talk to you.
Happy Purim. Bye bye.
Thanks you. Happy porn.